This is Zoso Comics, and then you've got George. He's got 2 tables over here. That's all his inventory.
We've got a nice group of dealers who have wonderful books.
Yeah. You've heard the expression Brainiac? Well, that's the first appearance of Brainiac. My name is Vincent Zurzolo. I own Metropolis Collectibles and ComicConnect.com. I've been buying and selling comic books since I was a little kid. This will be my 37th year in the business, and I've actually looked at comic books before I could even read when I was a little boy. Fell in love with the art form, fell in love with superheroes, and the more I learned about it, the more I loved it, and decided to dedicate my life to buying and selling, and also elevating the art form and the investment and collectability of comic books, because I think that for many decades it's been kind of looked down upon, and to me this is the greatest American art form ever created. I believe in that wholeheartedly. I'm happy to debate it with anybody. So I wanted to bring just a sampling of some of our A++ material to the convention, because I wanted to share some cool books. So we've got a Batman #1 on the wall. We've got a Planet 33 in 9.4. We've got a bunch of Silver Age Marvel keys, first Avengers, first Red Costume Daredevil, first Thor, first Sergeant Fury, first Ant-Man. Then in the next row, Captain America #3. That's the first time Stan Lee ever had a published story in a comic book. You got Archie #1. You got Disney and you got Archie. Those to me are like Scream Americana. And there's Archie #1 from 1943. Then you have Batman #1 I mentioned. And another Batman #1. Detective 29, very early pre-Robin. First Punisher, first full appearance of Wolverine. First Ghost Rider, first new X-Men. And then we have this really cool horror kind of row I put together. And we have Mad Comics #1, 9/8, Gaines file copy, unbelievable copy. This just sold in our auction, but it's available if you're interested. Same with the Crime Suspense Stories 22. These are Gaines file copies, best copies known to exist in the world. Also for sale, even though it just sold in our auction, the buyer said, hey, you could sell it, sell it. So I brought it down here. Silver Streak #23, very cool book, incredibly rare, Golden Age. Bondage cover, white pages, and it's from the Mile High collection. Super, super tough book. Daredevil 11, a crazy bondage cover. He's got this woman chained up and her feet in like a little box here. She's in trouble with Quasimodo, and you can see her feet are there, and he's drooling blood on her feet. Only in the Golden Age. Very, very weird, but that's it. Got the first Juggernaut, one of my favorite X-Men villains. First Blade. Really cool crossover in the White Mountain collection with Cap and Iron Man. First, this is the beginning of the Silver Age. This is the first Martian Manhunter in Detective 225 from 1955. Really cool Frazetta Famous Funnies. First origin of Batman. First Spider-Man. And for good measure, and if you want a lower grade, mid-grade Hulk 181, you got that.
Hi, my name is Pak. I'm the artist of Elixir. The story of Elixir is about a monster hunter. His name is Cyrus. His family was killed by the Ancient Force. So he tried to save his daughters. By doing that, he has to become a monster to kill the monsters. And also he has to save the world too. I am influenced the most by Asian artists. Mainly the ones from Hong Kong. I grew up there, and Hong Kong comics was my favorite, and also Japanese.
Hi, my name is Andrés Labrada, comic book artist from Miami, Florida. Recently, I've been doing the Shikishi artist boards. They're sort of like marker boards from Japan.
I'm Ralph Cabrera, illustrator. I used to work for Marvel and DC Comics. I'm also doing storyboards for film and commercials. And I'm here at Miami Con, having a good time and showing some artwork. This one is cover recreations. There are some originals, original sketches, and original pages. These are the ones that were printed in the books.
What were your influences growing up?
Oh, Neil Adams, Mike Zeck, Bob McLeod, good Lord, Pat Broderick. Just so many people from that time era. I'm nostalgic. I just came across this, and I have issue 10. I don't have issue 9, so I'm gonna take this. Is that the Action Comics with the Power Girl on the cover? Yeah. Let me. Oh no! I heard about these. You're selling them as a set?
Yeah, it's a set. Yeah, they're beautiful covers, man.
They are, dude. I saw them.
I just got them in the mail. We filmed an unboxing of it. I'm like, if they don't sell, I'm gonna just send them to get graded because they're nice, man. They're clean.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Damsel. I am a cosplayer and photographer, and recently I did a comic book cover for Painkiller Jane. I have like an assistant that'll help me with the Polaroids. Yeah, that's like the one thing I can't do. I do all my photography myself. So like the Jane cover, I made the costume. That putting on those bandages took me longer to put on than like any costume I have.
Hey, Tony Fernandez with KnoWhere Toys, Comics, and Games. Besides our brick and mortar that we have in Hialeah, Miami Lakes area, we also do different Comic Cons. So we take all these books with us, plus toys, action figures, autographs, you name it, all over the country. It is tiring, but it's definitely worth being out there with the fans and talking about the genre that we love.
I'm Mike Seeley. I am an indie creator. I also do some stuff with Marvel and DC, Upper Deck and Tops for Star Wars, LucasArts projects I've done. I actually create my own comics. This is one of the comics I create. Eclipse is another one of the characters that I've created. I enjoy comics. I've been drawing for a long time.
Hi everybody, I'm Xavier Chavez and I'm representing here at the Miami Com number 4 for our Heritage Auctions. I'm a consignment director for them, and we're here to let people know that Heritage Auction exists. Some of you might not know that we exist on ha.com. We sell comics and comic art apart from 40 other categories. The market is strong, especially with all the movies having brought all of our favorite characters into normal pop culture in the last 20 years, and it's pretty much gone, especially with the comics, it's gone almost like a stock where there's websites like GPA Analysis that track the prices of every comic sold in the grade, whether it's restored and signed, and it pretty much gives you a track of how the market is doing and how certain books move up and down in certain time periods. Every page from a comic pretty much, up to recently, because there's a lot of digital work happening now, but before it was hand-drawn by an artist, whether a penciler or an inker, or whether the penciler and inker was the same, and you actually have the originals. We recently sold this Spider-Man page for just over $3 million, and it was the first time that Spider-Man was in the black suit. We do very well with Frazettas. We have about 5 signature auctions a year, and in those signature auctions, apart from comic books, you will see the comic art. And a lot of people love having a one-of-a-kind piece of art. It's going into illustration art or almost fine art, where you can have a piece on your wall, and whereas you can't have the comic on your wall because of sand fading or light fading. So this is all done with pencil, graphite, and India ink. So it's very hard for it to fade. Some of the stuff in the 90s was done with marker, so that will fade and turn into a sepia color. And what I always recommend, if you're gonna have a piece of art framed up on your wall, I suggest you go through the process of having museum conservation glass and archival material used for that, because it's gonna protect the piece and conserve the piece much longer.
I went through the sketch cards and I'm going through them and I'm seeing a lot of work in here. It's all beautiful. I was gonna pick up this crow, and as I'm turning the pages, we start seeing movie actors, and somebody came up and I was like, I gotta get this for my friend, just because we were having this conversation about Henry Winkler
and we're losing a lot of the artists, actors from our generation. You were just telling me whether Henry Winkler should sign your Fonz book, and I said you should get it signed. It's your memorabilia. You've had it since, like, you know, God. This is for you, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Dan's the artist.
Yep. I'm actually a school teacher, a middle school art teacher, and I work for Tops and Upper Deck as the side gig. And then I do sketch covers, I do sketch cards, but I'm mostly known for my sketch cards. And I do a layered effect. It almost looks like it's printed. So, but it's all drawn with only Sharpies and Copic markers. Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, the late and great Neil Adams, and George Perez. These are my go-tos, and Jack Kirby, obviously. So I have Top Star Wars Chrome coming up. I have another Chrome Galaxy as well. I have an Upper Deck project coming up, and I have also a Disney project that I can't say yet, but that's in the pipeline.
I'm Matt Nelson, president of CGC Comics, and I'm here at Miami Con this weekend, having a blast with everybody. It's been a crazy ride the past several years. Certification, obviously, a big part of it. Movies, television shows, all the new collectors coming in. A lot of activity going on. The shows are blowing up as usual, and everybody's just being able to see everybody every year at all the conventions has been a big thrill. And obviously being back at CGC and seeing all the great books every day that come through for grading. So Black Sun acquired us almost 2 years ago this July. And since then it's been a wild ride because we got buried in submissions during COVID. We've expanded tremendously, hired a lot of hundreds of people. We were in one building, now we're in 5. It's been wonderful. Yeah, it's just really exciting to see everything exploding and growing. And we expect to see that for a long time coming.
Every year we give out an award to somebody who is a legend in this community. So it's our Legend Award. And this year we're going to give out 2. And I have the honor and privilege of giving out the first one to my longtime friend, Mark Haspel. Mark started, when he was very young collecting comic books and was working at Tropics Comics locally here, when he was 12 years old. And eventually turned it into a career, and he was the one that was working with Sotheby's in the 90s, helping them figure out if books were complete and unrestored when they would auction them off. And in the late 90s, for those of you that don't know, Mark and a couple of others came up with a great idea to start a grading company for comic books called CGC. Everybody has CGC certified and graded books on their walls, and that company, and in large part to what Mark did, really changed the landscape for our hobby and turned it from just a collector's hobby to an investable asset that's well respected.
I quickly realized that I couldn't draw comics, and writing comics, there were endless numbers of people who could write comics better than I could. And maybe I could have become a decent comic book writer with enough practice, but what I was practicing at was selling comics to customers who walk into the store, buying collections from people who walk into the store, and learning about comics, what exists. So I was 11 years old, hanging out with people who were 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. They were selling comics. I mean, now the comics that they were selling are worth $50,000 each, but then they were worth $1,000. And so they were buying and selling comics for thousands of dollars all the time, and I got to watch that growing up. For new collectors, I would simply say that you need to buy what you like. You need to go out there and learn as much about the different comics that were published in the past and find books that people have forgotten about, that people thought were amazing in 1975, but it's just fallen by the wayside. To buy a Timely from 1943 right now, in any condition, it's going to be thousands of dollars, but to buy a Nidor from 1943 is going to be a couple $100, and there's some great covers, there's some great stories. The collectors of that material are passionate. The number of books that exist of that material is so low. It's not like Amazing Spider-Man 300. All you have to do is have money in order to get it. You just have to walk outside your door and find one and pay for it. But if you were looking for a Startling Comics number 10, it literally might take you a decade to find a copy that somebody's willing to sell. When I was 14, I bought Amazing Fantasy 15, the first Spider-Man, for $1,950. It set a record. That was the most anybody had ever paid at that particular moment in time for an Amazing Fantasy 15. So I would go home and tell my parents, hey, look, at the store that I'm working at, I spent $2,000 on one comic book, and I set a record for the most ever paid. So they weren't necessarily too happy about that. But 2 years later, I sold that book for $4,000. That really caught the attention of my father. From then on, he really supported my ambition to be in comics as something that I could do as a living.
You know what? There's a Yiddish term called kvel, which means I'm just so happy, and just smiles. He's a great son. I have 2 great sons. And I'm just grateful that they chose a career and went to the top. And I'm glad at 11 you took the job.